I just want to start by recognizing a big event Wednesday night. We got a top 10 women's volleyball game going on over in Reed Arena. Congratulations to Coach Morrison and the start that the girls have gotten off to, and anybody who can get out and support them. They got Kentucky coming into town. That'll be a great game for them, and so we'll be watching. We always do at the radio show. It's kind of a radio show ritual to watch the A&M women's volleyball game on TV, but please get out to Arena and give them some support. Want to recognize the 1975 team. This is a throwback jersey game for us, and we'll be recognizing the 1975 team. They were the Southwest Conference champions. They reached as high as number 2 in the polls that year and produced 10 NFL draft picks, which is still the largest number in any given year for Texas A&M football. And so it'll be great to get all of those guys back, or as many of those guys as we can, back on campus. It's always great when we get former teams back on campus as we kind of continue to try to build this Aggie football family to be an all-inclusive thing. Looking back at the game the other night, starting with our players of the game, from a scout team perspective this week, offensively it was Josh Moses, defensively it was Dejan Petaway, and on special teams it was Johnny Ryder. Our defensive lineman of the week was Cassius Howell. He had 3 sacks, and so, again, another very disruptive, productive night for him getting after the quarterback. Our offensive player of the week was Ruben Owens. It was great to see him really kind of hit his stride, 21 carries for 142 yards, really did a nice job consistently running the football the way we would like to see him do it, and obviously he has home run ability, and so really big night for him. The defensive player of the week goes to Damian Sanford. Damian had 9 tackles, 2 TFLs, 1 sack, and 1 interception. And so when you talk about filling a stat book, that's kind of what that feels like. Damian was the co-SEC Defensive Player of the Week this week. Cassius was the SEC Defensive Lineman of the week this week. And so it was nice to see our defensive kids get some recognition. And then our Special Teams Player of the Week was Casey Concepcion for continuing to do a really good job back there returning punts. And I think as we looked at the game again, the iPads make it a little bit easier because you have a little bit clearer view when you come in after the game of what actually happened. But again, I think defensively we played really well start to finish. I think we gave them 1 drive early. I think outside of that, we really did a good job of executing what we were trying to get accomplished. Holding them to a field goal on the 1 drive I thought was big also. That's one of the things that we really emphasize when we play those teams, is trying to make sure that when they do move the ball that you can limit them to field goals. Our drive efficiency was 10 out of 12, which is really obviously good for the evening. Offensively, it was interesting because we were efficient driving the football 9 out of 12 times. I think the game changes a little bit because we don't convert the 4th and 1, which we come away from 0 points, and then we throw the interception in the first half and we come away with 0 points. I think those 2 drives coming away empty obviously were huge killers for us in terms of trying to build some early momentum, some early points. I thought we came out in the second half, got into a much better rhythm. We're able to finish drives with touchdowns, 3 straight drives through the end of the third quarter into the fourth where we were able to score, and that gave us a chance to pull away and win that one kind of going away. And so it was a good night. It was a good night for us, taking the next step forward. And now obviously we have an enormous challenge this week with Florida coming in. I think Florida is by far and away the most talented team that we've played this year. They've got an excellent group of players. They've played a very competitive schedule. They've played in 2 top 10 road environments already, so they're going to be well versed in what this is like and what it's going to be like coming into Kyle Field, coming off of a huge top 10 win last weekend. And so they'll be full of confidence and certainly very excited to come in here and give us their best shot. And so we're looking forward to the challenge, and we'll be excited to get back under the lights in Kyle Field. And so from there, we'll open it up to questions.
We're going to go to the right. David?
Mike, not asking for too many coaching secrets here when I ask this, but you guys have shown the ability to win a shootout, a grind-out game, physicality. How much of that is like the in-game chess piece, or is it some of the stuff leading into the week for the game prep?
Yeah, probably a little bit of both. I think obviously when you go into a game, you kind of have a feeling for where the advantages are, what the game is going to look like, what success potentially is going to look like. Sometimes success is going to look like. We're going to have to make an awful lot of stops on defense because, their defense is really good and we have an advantage with our defense. Sometimes it's the other way, where we're going to have to score a lot of points because the matchup with their offense and our defense maybe isn't ideal. And then I think sometimes you go into a game and it starts going a certain way and you have to adjust. And I think that's one of the things we try to do really well. Like, you get these analytics books off of a certain score projection. But the game doesn't always go that way. And so I chuckle sometimes when people stick to the books because sometimes in game the actual percentages and the probabilities are not the same as what maybe you thought they would be going into it. And so we try to adjust as best we can on the fly to kind of marry game flow and what's happening with the choices and decisions we make.
To the left, second row, Aaron.
Hey, Coach, just wondering what assessments you have over DJ Lagway so far?
Yeah, I think DJ's obviously a kid that we've known, tried very hard to get him here, an extremely talented quarterback. I think, again, media narratives to me are so funny. I think he's playing so much better. I think he's made a lot of growth and taken a lot of strides. You see him very, very comfortable back there. And so, yeah, I think he's playing at a really, really high level. He's a really talented kid.
Front row to the right, Travis.
Hey, Mike, what's been the maybe key to some of the success in the red zone, and how much of that maybe goes back to that kind of finish mantra y'all have had this year?
Yeah, you're talking about our offensive success?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think finish for sure. I think that's a big part of it. Our ability to run the ball, I think, helps. That makes it easier. Our ability then to create some separation in the one-on-one matchups that you get because you can run the ball. And then I just think, again, you emphasize things and you get some and you don't get some, but we do put such a tremendous emphasis in it. I don't think there's a lot of teams that go out on Monday and spend 10 minutes working third downs inside the 10-yard line. Like, I don't know that that's normal, and we do. And that's just because of the premium of those plays. We throw the touchdown to KC on a 3rd and goal. The difference between that touchdown and a 14-3 lead and that becoming a field goal drive and a 10-3 lead is so enormous in terms of how the game plays out. And so, we try to really focus on that area of the field, and it's been good to us so far this year.
To the left, second row, Alex.
Marcel made his first start against Florida last year, and had a pretty successful game. Just how do you think maybe getting off on the right foot and having a game like that did for his kind of confidence and mental fortitude?
Yeah, listen, that wasn't an easy situation, and I think, not a lot of people wanted to give us a ton of credit for that win last year, but that was a big win, and that turned out to be a really good Florida team. That is not an easy place to play. I think you've seen results since that game speak to how hard it is to go play in the Swamp. And so for Marcel to go in there as a first-time starter, play the way he did, win the game the way we did, I think that brought a lot of confidence into him and then into us as a team in terms of what we can do. Now, having said all of that, none of that helps us this year. If we don't focus and do the work and preparation we need to get ready to go this year, none of that will matter.
And then you touched on Lagway, but I'm just curious, as you started to dive into Florida and their offense, just what really stood out to you about the most about them and the way they were able to pass the ball this last weekend against Texas?
I don't really know that I looked at it like that. I didn't just watch one game, so I don't know that I have a great feel for that question. I think they're really physical. I think they have really talented pieces on the outside. I think they create a lot of stress on you in terms of how you commit numbers to the run versus commit numbers to coverage, and they're able to kind of take advantage of you in a lot of different ways. And so I would say they just present a lot of challenges to you in terms of defending them.
To the right, Carter.
Ike, how much do you think your increased involvement with the defense has, and maybe in what ways has it helped defense so far?
Probably not as much as you guys want to give it credit for. I think we've got a tremendous defensive staff. I think Jay does a phenomenal job. I think bringing Lyle in has just added another experienced person to kind of help with it all. I think those guys are doing a phenomenal job of coaching the group, and I think everybody wants to try to make narratives, but it is what it is. I think those guys are phenomenal coaches.
Coach all the way in the back.
Go
Oh,
ahead,
sorry,
Carter.
Carter.
I was just going to ask about Nate, and how does one even figure out that he can run the ball like that, and what led to you guys making that decision to kind of make him that situational guy?
Yeah, I think, obviously we challenged ourselves a lot this offseason to kind of do some studies on how people run the ball, what people do to effectively run the ball in short yardage situations. I love Marcel, but he's not a 215-pound, 225-pound quarterback, and so that kind of takes the quarterback sneak out of our equation a little bit. And so maybe just some different creative ways to get some bigger guys in there that can kind of get into the wedge a little bit off of some misdirection is maybe where that came from.
Coach all the way in the back, Donna.
Coach, we've seen the run game get going really well over the last few games. How pleased are you with the execution of your offensive line?
Yeah, I think really good. I think, the challenge that I laid out to them was stop having those 2 plays a game that send us backwards, whether it's a penalty or a critical mistake. That's why we didn't have an offensive lineman of the week this week. It's, I think each kid graded out really well. I think each kid had a really solid game. I think we created movement. We obviously ran the ball really well. I thought we protected Marcel really well. But we have high expectations for that group, and let's get rid of the 2 plays that each one of them had that make you pull your hair out. And I think if we can do that, there's probably still another level that we can get to with them and offensively.
And we've seen Cassius have so much success on the field this year. How have you seen him take steps as a leader on that defensive line?
Yeah, I think he's a personality guy, and so he's got a really electric personality. And, I think I think I said this a little bit earlier too about him, like, kids decide to come back for that last year of school, and some handle it a lot of different ways. Some guys come back and they kind of go into coast mode, and they're like, oh, I've been here, done that. I've been through the off season before, and they maybe don't take the work ethic or the practice habits to the level you would like to see. He was the exact opposite. Like, he has done this thing as well and as good as you could ever hope for a kid. He's changed his body. He put in a ton of work with Coach Moffitt. I think he's practicing better. He's preparing better. And I think the players see that. And so as much as it is some of the conversations that I think he has from a leadership standpoint, I think it's also like an ability to point to him and say, hey, like, look at him. Like, here's a kid who was under-recruited, started at Bowling Green, and kind of look at what he's worked himself into becoming. And he's just a testimony to how he's gone about his business. And I think that in its own way creates leadership value.
To the right, second row, Olin.
Mike, as you look back and evaluate Marcel over these 5 games, what have you been impressed by the most? And, where would you say that you look for continued growth the most?
Yeah, obviously, I think you see a much more mature quarterback in his ability to sit in the pocket and deliver the football. I think it was, he would tell you himself, I think, that last year at times he was too quick to run. He wasn't 100% confidence, progression-wise, where his eyes needed to go. And so he knew he was really athletic, and at times maybe he would rely on that too quickly. I think when you watch him play now, I'm not even really sure that you could evaluate him as a runner. He does not run a ton. He's doing a lot of his work from the pocket, which I think is really important for him, for us to grow as an offense, but also for him from a health standpoint and everything that goes along with that. And then just obviously the growth is, maybe starting a little bit cleaner. I think he still gets a little bit anxious in the beginning of games, and that's where you see kind of most of his inaccuracies and, and connecting on some of the deep balls a little bit more consistently.
Coach all the way in the back again, Jair.
Coach, what can you say about Damian Sanford's improvement heading into the season along with the past few games, especially in the absence of Scooby Williams?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Damian has stepped up and played 2 really, really big games for us as a starter the last 2 weeks. He also played a really big second half for us on the road at Notre Dame, and he's a kid that we have a lot of confidence in. I told the guys this morning. It's not lost on me that our 2 players of the week this week weren't necessarily starters game 1. And when you talk about what it really takes to build a program, that can go the distance in this conference week in and week out, you need a lot of kids to be bought in. You're going to need a lot of kids to be able to come in and have success. And fortunately, Damien was a kid who was ready when his number was called, and that won't be the last time that story comes up. And we're going to need to have guys who are capable of answering the bell.
And my second question is that touring New York is close to 200 tackles. What is it going to mean to you to see him reach that plateau when he reaches it eventually?
Yeah, I didn't even know that. That's good information for me. Yeah, it's a really cool milestone for him. I'm hopeful that I'm around to see him get to 300. To be honest with you, I think that's what he's capable of, and he's getting really comfortable out there in the system. He's doing a phenomenal job operating, and think he's doing a really, really good job with what we're asking.
Coach will stay in the back. Chip.
Coach, what have you tried to do with Le'Veon Moss with the upset stomach, the nervous stomach? What kind of precautions have you tried to take, and it's just something that you will have to continue to live with?
Yeah, I mean, just something we're working through with him. I don't know that there's a ton of precautions. I don't know that there's a lot of medicine for it. I think just kind of working with him and something that he's fighting through.
I was wondering if you could speak about the Florida offensive line. Defensively, I think most folks who watched them thought they would be pretty good defensively. As you watch their offensive line, what stands out from them?
Yeah, I mean, they got 4 or 5 starters back from last year. They're a really talented group. They were a really talented group last year. They've got multiple NFL draft prospects on the line. I think their left tackle is probably one of, if not the best tackles in the conference. And so they're a really, really talented group.
Front left. Robert.
Mike, 5 games into the season, this team's approached each game. When you look back to last year, they have a better eye for detail. Did they build on that last year? What about this team's characteristics preparing for each game?
Yeah, I think we'll see a little bit, to be honest with you. I mean, at this point last year, things were going really well too, and we were in the middle of a 7-game winning streak, and we were playing consistent, and so we'll see. We'll see what this team can do better as we move forward.
We'll stay front row. Tony.
Coach, piggybacking off some of the linebacker play, they've been so effective in the blitzing and getting sacks. Getting that kind of pressure from that group there, what's that do for the defensive unit and just kind of elevate you guys?
Yeah, I think TFLs are a big part of it. I think if you look at, a lot of people have talked about our third down success the last 2 weeks. I think, one of the hidden stats in there is third down distance. And I think, our ability to create some negative plays on first and second down, our ability to create some sacks or some pressures or some tackles for loss in the run game, puts people behind the sticks and forces them into tougher third down situations. And I think as much as we've been good on third down the last 2 games, I also think a large part of our success is we've been very much in advantageous third down situations. And so, when you look at, whether it's Damian Sanford early in the game, he gets they get a first down, he gets a sack. And now all of a sudden it's 2nd and 16. And the second drive comes out, he gets on a blitz and he gets a TFL and it's 2nd and 16. And, those things are hard to overcome as an offense. And so I think some of that is what you're trying to create on defense. And when you have kids who have the ability to do that, obviously it gives you a chance. A team goes 1st and 10, 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2. Your third down percentage is not going to nearly be what it's been for us.
We'll stay on the left. 4th row. Matthew.
Coach, you talk so much about finishing, especially with last year's team. How have you seen the players grow in their ability to finish out these games?
Yeah, I just think they're becoming more and more confident, and we talk about this a lot. It's an empowering feeling to know that you have control of the outcome of things. It's also a very nervous feeling when you're not sure if you do. When I can do my absolute best and it might not actually work out for me is a really scary place to live. And I think one of the mindsets that we've really tried to instill in them, and I think they're starting to understand and embrace, is, you control this. How you play, how you prepare. Don't know what that was, but I'm just waiting to see if the ceiling collapses on us. How you prepare, you ultimately can put in the work, you ultimately can play the game at a level that will make you unstoppable. And I think they're starting to believe that that's real. And the more that belief comes, the more invested they become, the more work they put in, the more they're able to finish, because they just have confidence that no matter how it goes, they're going to find a way at the end to get the job done. And I think that's what separates really great teams from average ones.
And then piggybacking off Tony's piggyback, how has an improvement from the cornerback duo of Ricks and Lee allowed the front seven to get so much pressure?
Sure. Yeah, when you have confidence in that group to be able to play man-to-man, and let's not lose sight of what we're able to do with Tyreek Chappelle at the nickel spot too, because we talked about how big of a deal that was when he went down last year, and then even the addition of Jordan Shaw, who stepped in the other night and played really well. I think that when you feel as though you're not worried about that group, you can maybe be a little bit more aggressive at times, or you can put those guys in a little bit more isolation at times. And that always helps what you can dial up and what you can create.
All right, anything else for Coach? Alex?
I just wanted to follow up on the nickel position. It seemed like Shaw got quite a bit of run in the second half. Was that just by design, or did something happen to Tyreek?
A little bit of both.
Anything else?
What in the? Thank you, guys. I'm going to get out of here. G, the podium's yours. I hope the place doesn't break while I'm gone.